Chris Johnston and Darren Dreger, your insiders today. I think it was about the time the Senators scored their fourth goal in the first period last night that the Rangers officially became sellers for Trade Center. They haven't said that yet, but it sure feels that way, the way they are playing. Dregs, when do they officially have to make a decision on direction with Artemi Panarin and whoever else they may move?
Well, I think management is hoping to have all of that mapped out before the Olympic break takes effect, but there's a lot to work through if you're Chris Drury and the New York Rangers. Now, we know that injury has played a role and is a factor in the outcome of some of these games with the players that aren't available, but they just can't keep the puck in the net. Defending has been a problem for much of this year, and I know that Drury early in the season was looking for help on his blue line. Now he's looking for basically all options to be presented to stop the bleeding and to stop the booing at Madison Square Garden. That takes us to Artemi Panarin, their star. He's on an expiring contract. It doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of activity in terms of a negotiation on an extension. So if they're willing or want to ask Panarin to waive his no-move clause, what's the reaction going to be there? They're hoping to find that out before the Olympic break as well.
Well, and it's safe to say that a player the Rangers were targeting, which is Kiefer Sherwood of the Vancouver Canucks, no longer a target given that they're pivoting towards selling. But I think an interesting point comes out of those discussions that were had with Vancouver and New York. What the Rangers put on the table, I'm told, for trying to get Sherwood out of Vancouver was a player with pedigree, a young player, and a second-round pick. That wasn't good enough to get it done recently. I think that tells us a lot about how Vancouver views the guy that it's likely going to be having the easiest time to move. And given that the Canucks have all sorts of things on the table, we heard Dregs mention on Tuesday's IT that Elias Pettersson, maybe a Connor Garland, Jake DeBrusk, I mean, they're willing to list on any of these guys. You know, the order they trade the players, I think, becomes important. And Sherwood certainly could be moved soon. Some of the teams around the league are hoping the price drops, so in order to make that happen.
CJ, just lost one of your words. What did you say with pedigree?
A young player with pedigree.
Perfect.
Someone that teams would like.
Makes some sense. We've talked about Calgary a lot the last couple of months. Rasmus Andersson, of course, Nazem Kadri. Blake Coleman's name came up with you guys a couple of weeks ago, but that's hardly a sure thing, Dregs?
Yeah, it's not a sure thing for a number of different reasons. Now, let's just clarify here. There are a ton of calls headed in the direction of Craig Conroy on a number of players, and that includes Blake Coleman. And you can appreciate why teams would be calling about Coleman when you look at his Stanley Cup experience. But the character of this man, the way he still plays hockey, that matters to the Calgary Flames. They're not selling off all of their assets. You're right, James. We know that Rasmus Andersson has been in play for a long, long time. He's a key piece of the trade puzzle for Craig Conroy, and the return that the Flames get for Andersson is going to be significant. Likewise, when or if they decide that they're moving Nazem Kadri and to find the right fit for him. It's more complicated with guys like Blake Coleman and Michael Backlund because of what they mean to the organization overall.
CJ, your report on Brayden Point earlier on in the week was that it doesn't look great. John Cooper gave a week-to-week, which sounded a little bit more optimistic. What's the latest on his chances to play for Team Canada at the Olympics?
Well, the most important takeaway here is that this is likely to go down to the wire, that no decisions have been made at this time, and I don't think we're going to get a decision next week or maybe even the week after that, because everyone involved wants to give Brayden Point time to heal that right knee injury and see where he's at as we get closer to the Milan Olympic Games. And so Point himself, certainly not ruling himself out of the tournament. He feels like he's been a fast healer in the past when he's had injury issues, and obviously this is an important event. Team Canada's brass is comfortable to wait as well. And so if you're any of those reserve players wondering, who might get the call, it's very possible, first of all, that no one gets the call, but certainly that call isn't made until February if it's needed.
There's going to be a lot of beach vacations that are planned but on hold until the very last moment. Insider trading.